ask a rhetorical question. If you could do only one single thing, only one, to increase fairness, equity, opportunity for the middle class, pass rational gun control, deal with immigration, etc., what would it be? I can tell you what one thing I would do. It would be get private money out of political process. The first bill ever introduced that I'm aware of, at least in a generation at the time, was a bill I introduced in 1973, calling for a limitation on how much could be spent in a congressional election, in a Senate election, guaranteeing that challengers would have as much money as the incumbent, and capping it. I ran in 1972 as a middle-class kid who just paid off his college and law school loans with a law firm that was just getting onto its feet. And I was able to run a campaign because I could organize people with $300,000. And I won in a year when Nixon was running, when my opponent was at least twice as well funded as I was, and was a 40-year incumbent who had an 81% favorable rating. Today, I ask myself, if I were in the same exact position, 29 years old in the state of Delaware, a little state, and I wanted to run for the United States Senate with the same ideas and the same ability to organize, could I possibly do it? I would have to raise multiples of $300,000. And per capita, Delaware is one of the most expensive campaigns in the nation because it's the only place where there's no television, and you have to pay for 10 million people, 9 million who, if they voted for you, would be indicted because it's Philadelphia television. So folks, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're cutting off access for so many of you, for so many bright young minds, who the only way they can get engaged is you have to go where the money is. And where the money is, there's almost always, implicitly, some string attached. No one buys anybody directly. That doesn't happen. If it does, it's rare. But it's awful hard to take a whole lot of money from a group that you know has a particular position, and then if you conclude they're wrong, vote no. So, ladies and gentlemen, I predict one day the American people are going to wake up and they're going to demand change. Today it's going to require a constitutional amendment. I introduced the first constitutional amendment on this, limiting dollars, with a guy named Fritz Hollings from South Carolina. So everybody, when I raise it these days, they say, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. So what do we have to do? Whether running for the Senate or Congress or president? Well, I can't disarm. I've got to do the same thing. Now, we can argue our interest groups are better than their interest groups. We can argue they're less self-serving than the other teams. That may be all true. But guys, why do you think the middle class thinks things aren't on a level? What chance do you think we have to get the kind of income tax system that I've been fighting for my whole life? What do you think the chances of getting that are? People aren't going to supply money against their own interest. They're not bad people. But I've been pushing to change for my entire career the way we treat unearned income. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. But the people with a whole lot of money are the people with a lot of unearned income, as is defined in the code. Why are they going to give you the money? And folks, we ought to start in our own party. You ought to be demanding of all of us, that at least in our own party fights among ourselves in primaries, that we adhere to a policy that doesn't rest on millionaires and billionaires. They're good people. They're not bad per se. No, I really mean it. But it's a hell of a way to run a democracy. And so the first place you got to start is in the Democratic Party. No matter how much you love me or somebody else, you have to demand of us that we demonstrate we understand. We can do something about the corrosive impact of massive amounts of money. We can demand the people who we support don't yield to millionaires and billionaires. Take their money in limited amounts. But what are we doing? I know a lot of people are going to read into this part of what I'm saying something I'm not intending. I'm not talking about any individual. I really am not. But if we can't even start in our own party, I'm willing to have people start in their own party and say, okay, in the general election, don't disarm and do it there. But in our own party. Look, we can get support, even when we're outspent significantly, and this is not hyperbole, if we have you. We, the party, have you. You, the young, passionate advocates. If I get a chance to go on television with millions of dollars where I'm able to put 2,000 volunteers on the street, I take 2,000 volunteers for real. And so, folks, don't underestimate your ability to influence all of us who are tempted to yield to the temptation to go ahead and do the same thing and, again, rationalize. Rationalize. If I don't, I'm not going to be able to win, and all the good I can do will be gone, even though the way I have to do it is going to, even if it doesn't compromise me, convince average middle-class people that I don't care about them and they therefore will not trust me. You know, we have to speak up. We have to speak up. I know a lot of what I just said probably sounds Pollyannish to you, but I've been around longer than all these other guys. I'm telling you, it can be done. It always is done by generations like yours.